capsule of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's identity is found in Jaiva Dharma by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, where one of the sadhus, or the mahants, the great souls in Mayapur, are instructing the persons coming to hear from them that they should go to Kavi Karnapur, who has these 100 verses composed by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, his Sushloka Shataka, and Kavi Karnapur has the detailed explanation given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explaining Vedanta Sutra to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Get a copy from Kavi Karnapur and study it carefully, and you will very swiftly make progress on the path back to Godhead. So that exchange where Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was delivered, he was delivered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's eloquent exposition, his bestowing transcendental knowledge by that method. Here's the Lila. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could have delivered him however he wanted to deliver him, but he delivered him in that way, by just explaining what we hear all the time. We don't feel so delivered. We're not so qualified like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, part of the reason. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, hearing, not just like the kind of hearing that we do, but the kind of hearing where you're hearing, he heard. And then he understood. Then so he not only understood the explanation of Vedanta Sutra and the Atmarama verse following that, but then he understood who was Lord Chaitanya. You're the personality of Godhead. He stated it. And then Lord Chaitanya smiled, and he showed him his spiritual form. Of course, his form of Lord Chaitanya is also a spiritual form. Chaitanya Bhagavat describes that he showed him his Sadbhuj form, 6-arm form. 2 arms Krishna holding a flute, 2 arms Ram holding bow and arrow, 2 arms Chaitanya Mahaprabhu holding danda and his water pot, Kamandalu. Caitanya Caritamrita describes differently. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya his form of Vishnu. And then that form of Vishnu transformed and became the form of Krishna. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya realized that Lord Chaitanya was revealing. As he revealed through his explanation of Vedanta Sutra and Atmarama verse, he was revealing his identity as Krishna. And his body erupted in transcendental ecstasy, what to speak of his heart, in transcendental ecstasy of love of God. And he fell before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, flat on the ground, offering prayers as he stood up. And because what do you do to express your heart to the personality of Godhead? You do whatever is natural for you to do. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a scholar. He was super scholar. So he was making an offering just like Patraka. Where is he? Is he here? He likes growing things. He likes tulsi and flowers and horticulture and agriculture. So it's Gaur Purnima. He's been meditating on the flower dress. Yes, anybody that knows. He's like, I don't know how long ago, but I'm sure it was a long ago. And like the the design, the exact flowers, and that was his meditation for some time, with the gift that is given to him, and etc. The kitchen department, I'm sure, has been contemplating how to make very nice culinary offerings to offer to Lord Chaitanya, like that. Someone else may be making a drama, someone else may be the kirtan. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a scholar. So he offered what his gift was. He just began spontaneously composing beautiful verses. Doesn't say how he captured that. Immediately it starts describing he composed right on the spot. He composed 100 verses. They're still in a written form, so I don't know if he sat down and started writing or spoke them and remembered them and later wrote them down. It doesn't say. He composed 100 verses that are very famous. This Sushloka Shataka, that in Jaiva they're mentioned. Kavi Karnapur has a copy. Get a copy from Kavi Karnapur. Study them. They're glorifications of Lord Chaitanya, who he is and his teachings, because Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya now has realized the fullness of that. Lord Chaitanya has disclosed his divinity, so he's, at least for the moment, out of the role of being a devotee of Krishna. He's disclosed, I'm Krishna. So he heard these beautiful prayers and was very much appreciating Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after he finished expressing these beautiful prayers, Lord Chaitanya embraced him. And both of them erupted in ecstasy, transcendental ecstasy. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya wasn't behaving like a sober elder super scholar. He started dancing and dancing and dancing and jumping up and down and crying ecstatically and running all over the place. And the associates of Lord Chaitanya started laughing. Look at this old man, just carrying on like a little boy, ecstatic little boy. After some time, Lord Chaitanya calmed him down. Said, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, this is most wonderful. Gopinath Acharya commented, this has happened only by your mercy. He was a hard-hearted logician and so much attached to impersonal conception, and look at him. And Lord Chaitanya gave the credit to Gopinath Acharya, his brother-in-law, and said, it's because you're a great devotee. Lord Jagannath has been kind upon your brother-in-law, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Now he's become a devotee. It's because you're a good devotee. So then he requested Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya to go see Lord Jagannath. And before parting, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, you've come into this world to deliver all the fallen souls. And for you, that's not so wonderful. But to deliver me, my heart is so hard. I've become such a dry logician, studying so many books. You know people like this, that just study books and study books and study books and study books and but it's a great accomplishment, a great achievement that you've delivered me. So he went to Lord Jagannath as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu suggested. Then comes this little pastime that Lord Chaitanya wanted to see. Next morning, very next morning, Lord Chaitanya went early to see Lord Jagannath for Mangal Arati, and the pujari gave him in a cloth sumptuous prasad that was offered at the early morning offering, gave it to Lord Chaitanya, who went immediately to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's home, who didn't get up from Mangalarti, and was still in bed. And Lord Chaitanya offered the prasad of Lord Jagannath, and before he even bathed his body or washed his mouth or did anything, he sat up and started eating the prasad. And Lord Chaitanya said, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, you're a first-class Brahmin, and Brahmins don't do this. It's against the vidhis. You have to, before you eat, any Brahmin knows this, before you eat, you do so many things. You do your puja before you eat, and before your puja you become clean and do your morning rituals. And you didn't do any of those. Your mouth is unclean, your body is unclean, and you're eating. Why are you doing this? And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, being a great scholar, quoted the verses that says, it doesn't matter where the food comes from. It may be from a distant place, it may be old and stale. If one receives the prasad of the personality of Godhead, one should take it at once. And several verses like that, and Lord Chaitanya was so happy. He said, I want to read it because it's to capture. Today, I have conquered the three worlds very easily. Today, I have ascended to the spiritual world. I think that today all my desires have been fulfilled because I see that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya has acquired faith in the Mahaprasad of Lord Jagannath. So if you want to make Lord Chaitanya happy, there's one way. Not just eat a lot, but have faith. Have faith in the Mahaprasad of the Supreme Lord. Indeed, today, you have undoubtedly taken shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, and Krishna, without reservation, has become very merciful toward you. Listen to this. My dear Bhattacharya, today you have been released from material bondage in the bodily conception of life. You have cut to pieces the shackles of illusory energy. Not yesterday, when he saw the form of the Lord, but applying what you've heard and what you've understood in practical action. We've been discussing in our morning Bhagavatam classes these teachings of Rishabdev, and the false ego bond. So how do you get out of false ego? And if you can't get out of false ego, how do you understand anything properly? Like anything, like even material stuff. What to speak of the soul and Krishna and devotional service and japa and deity worship and Vaishnava association, covered by false ego. How can you process all of that properly, address it properly? Can't, covered by false ego. Darkness. So, because he's received, the dynamic is, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving credit to Gopinath Acharya. Just Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya being related to him. And by Gopinath becoming a great devotee, Jagannath gave his mercy. Of course, Jagannath is Lord Chaitanya is Jagannath. Gave his mercy to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. That's Lord Chaitanya's explanation. One can get a lot of mercy and not receive it so well. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya gets some credit too. He received that mercy very, very well. Lord Chaitanya desired his deliverance and he was delivered. And that deliverance means false ego, gone. Material conceptions of life, gone. Struggle for material existence, within material existence, gone. Today, each of these verses is like today. Today, your mind has become fit to take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, because surpassing the Vedic regulative principles, you have eaten the remnants of food offered to the Lord. And then verses are quoted about the potency of and significance of accepting prasad offered to the personality of Godhead. Of course, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya did it fully knowing, and there are many, many people who accept prasad and don't do it knowingly, what it is. But it still acts because it's of the transcendental nature, just like the holy name or the form of deity form of the Lord or Prabhupada's books. Prasad is like that. It's a very, very, very special form of mercy. Prasad means mercy. So, prasadam distribution ki jai. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Book distribution ki jai. Caitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy ki jai. After speaking to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya in this way, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu returned to his residence. From that day on, the Bhattacharya was free because his false pride had been dismantled. Pride is the companion of false ego. False pride is the companion of false ego. But it was gone by the mercy of Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So what do you do when you're freed from false ego and pride? Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, from that day, his meditation, instead of impersonal Brahman and Vedanta Sutra and other things, became the chanting of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. And indeed, it says, that became his meditation, like 24/7. Sri Krishna, that was his Lord and Master, his Ishtadev, his worshipable Lord, worshipable deity. Seeing that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was firmly fixed in the cult of Vaishnavism, Gopinathacharya, his brother-in-law, began to dance, clap, and chant. Hari, Hari. He was so happy to see Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya become transformed like this. The next day, so this is day 2 after his deliverance. The next day, the Bhattacharya went to visit the temple of Lord Jagannath. But before he reached the temple, he went to see Caitanya Mahaprabhu. When he met Caitanya Mahaprabhu, the Bhattacharya fell flat to offer respects. After offering various prayers to him, he spoke of his previous bad disposition with great humility. He said, he asked the question, which is the most important item in devotional service? There's so many. I was very skilled in knowing all the rules and regulations and of Brahminical life. That's what smarta brahmanas do. And, fastidiously follow rules and fault people that don't. That's another thing they do. So what's the most important? And Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, chanting of the holy name. And then gave him an elaborate explanation. As his spiritual master, Ishwara Puri, had given to Caitanya Mahaprabhu, 7 days Ishwara Puri instructed him in the importance of chanting the holy name. We all know the verse, Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nastyeva, Nastyeva, Nastyeva Gatiranyata. He instructed him thoroughly and explained the verse. Gopinathacharya happened to be there, and he was appreciating he spoke to his brother-in-law, I told you this would happen, that you would somehow get the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then you would leave your former ways of mental speculation and argumentative logic and reasoning, and you would leave it behind. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who previously didn't do things like this, he fell on the ground before Gopinathacharya and offered his obeisances. And then stood up and said, it's because of you this condition is there in my life. Because you're a devotee and I'm related to you just as a brother-in-law. Because you're a first-class devotee and I was a mental wrangler in the darkness of logical arguments. Because of your relationship with the Lord, I've been delivered. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard the exchange and was very pleased. The humility replacing pride. Yay! Because pride was gone, because false ego was gone. And that's the real standard of humility. So Lord Chaitanya embraced Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya again, and again they both erupted in ecstasy and began dancing together near the Gambhira. There's a big hall that just outside the Gambhira, and dancing and dancing and dancing, ecstatically. Then Bhattacharya continued on his visit to Lord Jagannath. He arranged, because he's the chief priest, he arranged for a large quantity of freshly prepared Jagannath Prasad, and then requested two devotees of Lord Chaitanya, Jagatananda and Damodar, along with his personal assistant, to take all the prasad to Lord Chaitanya's residence, and a gift of Mahaprasad of Lord Jagannath. He had them wait, and on a palm leaf prepared for writing, he composed 2 verses. This is one of them. And entrusted it to Jagatananda, please deliver this to Lord Chaitanya along with the prasad. So there goes Damodar and Jagatananda and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's assistant to deliver the prasad to Lord Chaitanya. Mukunda Datta intercepted them and saw this nice verse. And right on the outside, those of you who have been to Gambhira, picture in your mind, there's that wall on the outside of Gambhira. He wrote those 2 verses on the wall outside the Gambhira, and then gave the leaf back to Jagatananda and Damodar and the prasad. They took it to Lord Chaitanya. He read the verse and ripped it to pieces, because it was glorification of him. That was what he did. But too bad, it was already on the wall for everyone to see. And everyone began to read them and invited those verses into their heart and worshipped Lord Chaitanya through the medium of these verses. A few days back I was describing from Sri Brahma Samhita this process of mantra upasana, something like also what Madhavendra Puri did, taking one verse and repeating it again and again and entering into the verse and seeing the form of the Lord. So this is one of those kinds of verses, again and again reciting it. So it's not only a nice verse to memorize, it's a nice verse to enter into the mood of. So, Vairagya Vijja Nija Bhakti Yoga. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is teaching that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving real knowledge and detachment, not the non-devotional kind of knowledge, not like jnana. He didn't teach jnana, he taught bhakti. So the distinction between jnana and the knowledge within bhakti is jnana doesn't deliver love. And the knowledge, like Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita, delivers love. It brings one to the position of love of God. That kind of Lord Chaitanya descended to deliver the knowledge of love of God. And with the knowledge of love of God, because you can't realize the knowledge of love of God without bhakti. So that which stirs, animates, activates the natural tendency for loving Krishna, stimulates love for Krishna, that kind of knowledge. And with that kind of knowledge, detachment. Of course, Lord Chaitanya isn't the first one to deliver knowledge and detachment, just like Rishabdev in the discussion that we're covering. Another incarnation or avatar, form of the Lord, delivering knowledge and detachment. Certainly he taught knowledge and detachment, transcendental knowledge, and Kapila Dev and the other forms of the Lord. Vairagya Vijja Nija Bhakti Yoga. So the process of Bhakti Yoga, specific, the form of Bhakti Yoga, this love of Krishna as found in Vrindavan, that kind. This verse doesn't specify that kind, but that's the kind. Devotional service in the mood of the residents of Vrindavan. Lord Chaitanya delivered that. Knowledge, detachment in the mood of devotional service as found in Vrindavan, in the residents of Vrindavan. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Sharira Dhari. He is Krishna himself, but he has assumed the name and the form, Sharira, is body, but this is a spiritual form. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Sharira Dhari. Is Krishna himself appearing as Krishna Chaitanya, a sannyasi, a devotee of himself. Kripam Buddhi. And why? Because he's Ambudhi. He's an ocean of kripa. And unto him I offer my respectful obeisances. Tamaham prapadye. The second of the two verses found on the banana leaf that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya wrote on, says, or is translated, "Let my consciousness, which is like a honeybee, take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has just now appeared as Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to teach the ancient system of devotional service to himself." This system had almost been lost due to the influence of time. I'll read the purport, 2 paragraphs. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam srajamyaham. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. Bhagavad Gita 4:7. This is also the case with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance, which we're honoring today, Gaur Purnima. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in this world as a disguised incarnation of Krishna. But his appearance is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam, Mahabharata, and other Vedic scriptures. He appeared to teach the fallen souls in this material world. For in this age of Kali, almost everyone has become attached to fruitive and ritualistic activities and mental speculation. Consequently, there was a great need to revive the system of devotional service. The Lord himself personally came down, disguised as a devotee, so that the fallen populace might take advantage of the Lord's example. Paragraph. At the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna advised complete surrender unto him, promising all protection to his devotee. Unfortunately, people are so fallen that they cannot accept the instructions of Lord Krishna. Therefore, Krishna returned with the same mission, but he executed it in a different way. As Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he ordered us surrender unto himself. But Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, he taught us how to surrender to Krishna. Therefore, he is praised by the Goswamis. Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate. Lord Sri Krishna is certainly the personality of Godhead, but he is not as magnanimous as Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Krishna simply gave orders for one to become his devotee. Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto. But Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu actually taught the process of Krishna consciousness. Conclusion. If one wants to become a devotee of Krishna, he must first take shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, following in the footsteps of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and other exalted devotees. So we're honoring Lord Chaitanya's appearance to teach us that process. Now, one of the other exalted devotees who we're enjoined to follow in the footsteps of is Rupa Goswami. So I want to, second verse, just express something about one other verse that's found in 3 different places in Caitanya Caritamrita. And I hope I can find the verse. Anarpita is how it starts. Where is it? Krishna. There's... No, that's Haridas Thakur. No. Yes. Okay. In Madhya Lila chapter 1, there's a description of glories of Rupa Goswami. It's the title of the chapter is Rupa Goswami's meeting with the Lord. So, briefly, because of time, Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, they're eternal associates of Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and similarly, they're eternal associates of Krishna. So all of what transpired in their lives between them and Lord Caitanya is entirely Leela. They're not like us, like waking up one day and, realizing we're in Maya and trying to do something about it and doing some sadhana and like that. They're transcendentalists, from start to finish, no question about it. So, but they're showing by example. And Sanatan and Rupa Goswami received Lord Chaitanya's mercy in a number of very beautiful ways. And through the mercy of Lord Caitanya, their ecstatic love for Krishna awakened. And in their ecstatic love for Krishna, they wanted to glorify Krishna, like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya wanted to glorify Lord Caitanya by choice verses. And Rupa Goswami wanted to glorify Krishna in a very beautiful way, a number of very beautiful ways, but one of them was writing drama very elegant way of expressing praise and glorification, say poetry or drama. So he one of his most wonderful writings, two of his most wonderful writings, because it started with one drama, became two dramas. Very, very, very amazing. I mean, very amazing. In the concluding part of Vidagdha Madhava, Radha and Krishna marry. It's really that's like the concluding part. They marry. It's incredible. And then Krishna, at their wedding, gives Radharani, I wish to give you some benediction. And she asks for two because he's very clever. And I can't remember exactly what those two benedictions are, but one of them is that your glories may be heard and sung for all time. And something specific about the Vaishnavas. So may mercy go to the Vaishnavas, something like that. Give your mercy to the Vaishnavas, your devotees. Anyway, so the whole of Vidagdha Madhava, Lalita Madhava is way up there. It's just way up there. But as he was residing in Puri and composing according to Satyabhama instructions and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's confirmation, it became two dramas. And Lord Chaitanya, on visiting, because Rupa Goswami was staying with Haridas Thakur, like Haridas Thakur, who was humble, so humble that he wouldn't enter Jagannath temple. When Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami stayed in Puri, they stayed with Haridas Thakur because they similarly felt themselves unqualified to enter the Jagannath temple. We don't need to imitate them. That was their mood. We can't enter anyways, number of us. So no problem. You might get by, I don't know. You ever try? No? Yeah. Have you been to Puri? Oh. If you go, wear a ragged cloth. Don't wear a Hare Krishna dhoti. And don't wear tilak and just... Well, like Bhaktitirtha Maharaj. He has a wonderful story of how he was able to get into Jagannath temple. And then he went in a second time and they figured it out. And he sprinted out of there. And they were running after him with sticks. And you probably could get in. Just don't dress like this. So, but they didn't let Manasi Ganga and Neha Katar enter. And then she spoke in Hindi, she spoke in, whatever, you name it, languages, and they said, no, we don't accept it, you can't enter. She was so unhappy and desperate, and they still didn't let him enter. Anyway. I think they went back later and then they could enter. Different guy at a different time or something like that. Anyway, Rupa Goswami was staying with Haridas Thakur. And Lord Chaitanya, when visiting Haridas Thakur, he would also give his association to Rupa Goswami, and he said, I hear you're composing a drama. I'm going to bring some of the devotees tomorrow to hear from you some of the verses, the composition of your drama. So be prepared. And the next day, a whole assembly of the leading devotees in Puri came to that little place, the Siddha Bakul residence of Haridas Thakur. And arrangements were made for them to all be seated in some respectable situation. And Lord Chaitanya called for Rupa Goswami to come and sit with them. He didn't say anything. But he didn't move either. And Lord Chaitanya instructed him again. And he didn't say anything, and he didn't move. Because of his humility, he didn't feel himself qualified to sit with all those exalted devotees. He, Rupa Goswami, who is the recipient of the fullness of Lord Chaitanya's mercy, and what is that? Sometimes devotees pray for one drop. He was the recipient of the fullness of Lord Chaitanya's mercy. And he felt himself part of that mercy, his humility. Didn't feel himself, he couldn't. Even Lord Chaitanya instructed him. He couldn't sit with him. So Lord Chaitanya let him sit where he wanted to sit. And then turned to Ramananda Roy, who was expert in these matters of poetry and especially drama. So, sampling, like, when the prasad is offered to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, some point during the day, big feast, someone may want to sample this Mahaprasad, and at least the cooks want to see how it came out. Sample that Mahaprasad. How did the Lord enjoy? Like that. So Ramananda Roy was given the lead role of sampling the composition of Rupa Goswami. Ramananda Roy said, "Please recite the introductory verse of Vidagdha Madhava so that I can hear and examine it." Then Rupa Goswami, being ordered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, recited the first verse of Vidagdha Madhava. May the pastimes of Sri Krishna reduce the miseries existing in the material world and nullify all unwanted desires. The pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are like shikardini, a blend of yogurt and sugar candy. They overpower the pride of even the nectar produced on the moon, for they distribute the sweet fragrance of the concentrated loving affairs of Srimati Radharani and the gopis. That's his first verse. Because Vidagdha Madhava, Lalita Madhava, they're discussions of Krishna's pastimes. So, and that the nature of Krishna's pastimes is like shikardini. It defeats anything, the sweetness of anything, and that's sweet. So it's described. It overpowers the pride of one in this material existence by these loving dealings. So Ramananda Roy said, "Now, please recite the description of the glories of your worshipable deity." So in composing drama, I learned this from Tamal Krishna Maharaj, because he studied drama. He became very inspired by his teaching Nectar Devotion. Then he became inspired by Rupa Goswami, and then he became inspired to learn how to compose drama in a classic standard way. And then he wrote one, Jagannath Priya Natakam. And there's a standard procedure. There's this introductory verse, like what the book is about. The second verse is standard. You speak something of your Ishtadev, your worshipable deity. So, Kishore Kishori. Speak something about Kishore Kishori, like that. That's the second verse. So his Ishtadev, Rupa Goswami, is Lord Chaitanya. That's his worshipable deity. He had Govindaji deity, but it wasn't a verse glorifying Govindaji. It was a verse glorifying Lord Chaitanya. Rupa Goswami remained silent. And Ramananda Roy asked him again, like maybe he didn't hear. So he asked him again, and he remained silent. And Lord Chaitanya then said, "Why are you remaining silent? Are you embarrassed? You should recite it so the devotees can hear the good fruit of your writing. So, with his arm twisted, he reluctantly recited it. But it was glorification of Lord Chaitanya, who he knew Lord Chaitanya wouldn't appreciate being glorified. But here's the verse for this morning, second verse, like this one. Here's Rupa Goswami's glorification. May the Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi, be transcendentally situated in the innermost core of your heart. It's a benedictory verse. Resplendent with the radiance of molten gold, he has descended in this age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation has ever even offered before. The most elevated mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. So that's expanding Mahavadanyaya. He's Mahavadanyaya because other forms of the Lord, they granted knowledge and liberation and detachment. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's special gift of bhakti is this bhakti as the residents, not only the residents of Vrindavan, but the gopis in Vrindavan. In that kind of love is what he's giving. And it's within the process that our founder Acharya has given us, because it's in the line of Lord Chaitanya. We may not know it, but you can know it. I mean, you may not know the details of how it's working, but that's the kind. All the things that we do are towards that gift. You know, the beginning is take prasadam, and chant, come for the kirtan. And then it just keeps going. Each of the things, as you become a little purified and a little experienced in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya and so forth, you start to get it. There's like magnets, and we're like little iron filings, and it's drawing us to that position. Krishna is attracting, because Krishna means all attractive, right? He's attracting that love but Krishna's always doing that. But his position was not clear. Even Krishna made it clear. So Lord Chaitanya came and taught how to do it. By demonstrating it, by his own example, and giving to his associates, empowering his associates, like it said to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, after seeing the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Chaitanya is, as Gopinath Acharya said he was, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He then realized, it's stated here, the importance, super importance of chanting the holy name and giving this opportunity to others to chant the holy name. So that became his life. So he was constantly chanting the holy name, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, and as the gift that he had through writing of literature, helping people to understand the gift of Lord Chaitanya, the process of devotional service and broadcasting it. So each one of us, similarly, on the appearance of Lord Chaitanya, please consider who it is that has appeared on this day, Gaura Purnima, and what was his reason. Kripam buddhi. Because his reason was just an ocean of mercy, just to give his mercy. And how did he give his mercy? The chanting of Krishna's holy name. And all the other features involved in his teachings and his associates that attract us to come to the stage of love as found in Vrindavan, and specifically the love of the gopis. We're being brought to that most elevated position from a most unfortunate position. He's the most munificent. we're honoring him. Well, I'm sure we'll have very nice kirtan and other activities. But let the mood of the kirtan, let's see how much we can do like this, the mood of the kirtan not being for our pleasure and how we like, the musical performance of kirtan, for his pleasure. And the more individually and collectively we can focus on for his pleasure, we'll feel pleasure. The quality of the kirtan will go to another position. And whatever else some will go and help in the kitchen. Maybe you're just cutting some vegetables. Don't let it be. Try to let it be a meditation on this is part of the offering for the pleasure of Lord Chaitanya, not just the mechanical get the chopping done. That's the gift. The love of the residents of Vrindavan. We can practice that practically. You have some more rounds to chant, or chant extra rounds because it's Gaur Purnima. Let the chanting be like that, what Lord Chaitanya wanted, to experience the happiness of love of God. If our hearts are open, something might happen more than just chanting some rounds. Like that. The appearance days of the Lord, scriptures tell us, they're very auspicious days. That's why we are fasting, not because make things uncomfortable for you or make it easier for the kitchen. It's because it's an auspicious day. We control our senses and increase the activities of devotion and the quality of those activities of devotion. So for the balance of the day, whether you're cutting the vegetables or preparing the lobby to receive people or whatever it is that you're doing, chanting extra rounds, getting together in little groups and discussing pastimes of Lord Chaitanya or whatever it is, focus on for his pleasure and his honor and receiving what he wanted to give us. That'll be very nice. You have a nice, auspicious day today. Hare Krishna. Any comments or questions? Yes. Yes. That's my understanding also. Yes. Yes. Just like preceding Kali Yuga's Krishna's appearance and the other 999 cycles of the yugas, and it's Vasudeva Krishna. And the mood is Aishvarya. It's not Braja mood or Madhurya mood. But when Krishna appears, then following Lord Chaitanya appears, and it's this other, it's Madhurya in Vrindavan mood. Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it's the chanting of the holy name carries one to the spiritual world. In those cases, Vaikuntha, but not Goloka. Yes.
Maharaj, I was wondering, since Lord Chaitanya came to give what no other incarnation came to give, that particular mellow and of the love of the residents of Braja.
Yeah.
And it's also mentioned as an external reason for Lord Chaitanya's appearance, his internal reasons being different.
No.
It's mentioned as one of the external reasons.
You're mixing two things. The Yuga Dharma, as with the other 999 Kali Yugas, he delivers that. That's an external. Here's the Yuga Dharma. But the internal was, by his tasting, he was delivering this special form of love.
Okay. I was curious because we don't hear about that so much because of our adhikar.
Yes.
Exactly. But then when it's Lord Chaitanya's appearance day, we hear a lot about this particular point. And as followers of Lord Chaitanya, I was curious, how serious should we take that particular element of Lord Chaitanya's gift to the world? In terms of our aspirations and our cultivation and so on.
My reply is, according to Yadikar. So, we know what Prabhupada's qualification was. He didn't emphasize that in public, as Lord Chaitanya just did kirtan in public. He didn't emphasize, confidential teachings. Following Lord Chaitanya and following our founder Acharya, we don't publicly make such emphasis of those things, although we may mention those things, because persons don't have the qualification to even understand it, except, wow, that was interesting, what was it? So, it's 101. And then, according to qualification, one may enter into discussions with those who have similar qualification. But, you get the idea. So one has to, following the example of our founder Acharya, be discriminating. But your question was how important. It is important, according to one's adhikar, to pursue that in the proper forum, in the proper manner. It's important. Anything else? Yes, Subal.
I was just finding, Guru Maharaj, the part that you explained on Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya receiving the full mercy of the Lord to a point of the Lord revealing his identity and also embracing him. And even then, the next day is when the Lord declares that, when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya applies what he had realized, that, Lord Chaitanya is Krishna, then now you are liberated. And you make that point that not yesterday, when he received the mercy, but today. So I find that quite incredible. I mean, that in one sense, in our leader space, we're receiving mercy of the Lord constantly, but the application part is when it's really going to shows or establish that we actually becoming Krishna conscious. So if you can comment about that a little bit, that
we already did. You're just taking a point that I mentioned and capturing the point. My thought specifically was, as you said, we're all receiving mercy. And one of the common questions people ask is, like we have some extended festival or something, and then invariably at the end is, how do we maintain this? Because I know what's going to happen. Tomorrow it's going to be, So it's applied the mercy. Prabhupada made these distinctions, jnana, vijnana, knowledge, theoretical knowledge, and applied knowledge, or so then realization. In our Bhagavatam verses, it was a little bit different. Prabhupada took those same two words and broke them apart, or identified their characteristic a little differently. Jnana, if I can remember correctly, Prabhupada said, is knowledge of Krishna. At Vijnana, he expressed something to the extent of acting in devotional service, almost like abhideya, carrying out devotional service, but carrying out devotional service with this understanding. Sambandha abhideya. I understand Krishna is who he is. Now let me serve him with that understanding, not like I forgot and I'm just doing devotional service mindlessly without being thoughtful or conscious of Krishna's position. Like I just gave the example. Okay, a number of us are going to go down and cut vegetables. And it's not just like get the job done. It's application time. And remember, so to discuss while cutting, hear or chant or discuss and consciously bring the mind to Lord Chaitanya, because this is for him. Everything is for him, but this is a special day for him. So that's the application part. And as much as we try to do that, it helps our hearing. It helps our realization. It helps our Krishna consciousness. Not in one ear and out the other ear. That was what Lord Chaitanya was examining. And Lord Chaitanya is examining us too. We can examine ourselves. How well are we doing? Retaining that which we've heard by acting on it. It's even in mundane academics, studies have shown that a student who sits in the classroom retains better if they do certain things. And one of those things is you take notes while you're sitting in the class. It helps retain it. You go back and study those notes after the class. It helps retain it. And even more, as you explain it to someone else, then it helps retain it. And what to speak of, if it's something that's practical, you can live it. Then you retain it. And then it becomes more realized. It's like the difference between, just memorizing the verse and entering into the mood of the verse. So one can hear about it, and then someone else might do it. That's the gap between theory and where we're at. Applying, living according, and having it enter your heart, and living according. So in the course of the day, just take a day at a time. In the course of today, we have some opportunity to advance beyond what we were yesterday, today, because it's Gaur Purnima, and it's specially blessed. As he's appearing and his mercy is appearing with him. And so to receive it and discuss it, and remember it, and like that, meditate upon it, glorify. That will help us advance. That's, the day itself is auspicious. We don't do those things. We're still going to help us advance, but it can advance further in the application from the heart. So, I think I'll end. It's 10:09. Time to go cut vegetables. Or chant more japa or whatever. Thank you very much, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.